Hello everybody, this is Niclas Huschenbeth and welcome to the first Patron Exclusive. So what is this anyway? Well, in these little videos I want to share tournament reports or in general how my progress is going towards my goal of reaching a top 100, and I want to share it with my supporters, my patrons. So usually this is exclusively for my patrons who are supporting me through the page Patreon. But as this is the first one, and I think it would make sense for other people also to see how these look like. So what I would like to do here is talk a little bit about the tournament, share some positions, and also have some exercise from my own games for you guys. So first of all, what did I play? The tournament was the Pfalz Open, and it took place in Neustadt an der Weinstraße in Germany. 9 rounds, quite a strong open, 500 participants. I was ranked number 5, and the top seeds were Vladimir Baklan, Daniel Friedman, one of the top German players, and Jinko Kozul, if I may say his name so. And it was a double round tournament, just 4 days, so really exhausting to play, because you just play 8 or 9 hours of chess every day, and it gets to your brain eventually. So it's really a lot about stamina as well. So the tournament was great. I really enjoyed playing there. It was very well organized, and personally it also went pretty well for me. I made 7.5 out of 9 points, won 6 games, drew 3 games, and came in shared first, but second on tie breaks. And I won 6.5 elo points, and I'm now ranked at 2587 virtually, obviously. So making another step towards my goal. So now let me talk to you about some of the positions. I'm sure you guys are maybe more interested in that than me rambling. So the theme of the tournament were sacrifice. I sacrificed something in almost every game. I was looking back and I was like, that's crazy. Sometimes more extreme than other times. But the first game was particularly extreme, and I've actually recorded a whole game analysis of this, because this is what I consider now to be my immortal game. So I really recommend you to check this out. And this position I decided to sacrifice with knight takes e6, and it was just craziness, and I was actually really lucky, I have to say. So that was the first round. In the second round, it was an S, crazy. I had sacrificed already 1 pawn to have the bishop pair, nice control of the dark squares, and now I sacrificed another one by going g4 with g5, which is so typical in the Sicilian, to open up the e5 square, and a beautiful play here, and managed to convert later on. Then in the third game, I played against Vadim Chernov, international master, and here out of the opening I sacrificed a pawn already. I had prepared this, it's very strong, knight c4, and black has to give up the bishop, and I have wonderful compensation here on the dark squares. It's just the dark squares are really weak, plus the king is still in the center, and is giving what great play for the pawn. In round number, this is round number 5, round number 6. You might wonder, what did I sacrifice here? Well, by playing the move b5, it's already kind of clear that black is going to sacrifice in exchange, because otherwise he's just going to be clearly worse. So how does the variation go here? a4, c6, takes, knight c3, a6, knight takes b5, a takes b5, rook takes a8, bishop b7, rook a1, and this is a whole opening variation. Black is down a whole exchange, but actually has great compensation. So I played this and worked out very well, and I managed to win this game against international master Lev Yankelevich. In round number 7, I played against Matthias Dann, and here in this unusual opening of my opponent, I decided to sacrifice a pawn with knight d5. Queen e5, bishop e3, bishop takes, pawn takes, queen takes, and bishop e2. I have compensation in form of the bishop pair, and huge lead in development, and it was just great, and I played a nice game here, and I've actually also analyzed this one in a whole game analysis. So if you want to, if you're interested in that, you can check that out as well. I actually forgot to mention that this one is also analyzed as the theme typical sacrifices, pawn sacrifice in the Sicilian. So in the last round, I played against GM Karpachev and I went for the Evans Gambit, b4. Sacrificed the pawn. He gave it back soon enough, but still another sacrifice. Of course, most of them in the opening and when I actually kind of knew them already, but still I was surprised how much material I sacrificed and how well it actually worked. So that was the theme, and now I want to get to some exercises from my games. So this is again the round 2 game, and I want you guys to take a moment here, stop the video and figure out how I finished off my opponent. Alright, so obviously black's position is very dominant, but white is still controlling the f2 square and it's not obvious how to make progress. Well, give up one bishop and then dominate the knight. That's the way to go. And this is such a typical constellation where the bishop is completely dominating the knight. Knight cannot move at all and white is lost. He went a4, takes, a5. Notice that knight f2 is not a stalemate because now this pawn can move. Actually, right now I'm wondering if this pawn wasn't on the board, it would be a draw, but probably not because black could still walk over to this pawn on a4 and would win somehow. So my opponent played king to e1 and I went king g2. I could have played f2 here as well. I don't know why I didn't. Just went for king f1 and king e2, and my opponent resigned because king c1, king takes d3, and just no moves, king b1, king d2. And he cannot even give the knight for the pawn. I mean, even this would be winning for me, but he can't even do that. So another exercise, let's see this one. Oh man, here I got myself in trouble. You might remember his position from before. I had great play, but I messed up badly. Now facing the threat knight e8. So the question for you guys, is there any way to save the day for white, or do I have to resign here? What do you guys think? I was very lucky because I had not seen this move queen e8, queen e6 coming, which he played here. I thought he would need to exchange queens, and then he played queen e6, and I'm like, damn. But fortunately, I can get out of this by going knight takes e5, knight e8, knight takes c6, knight takes c7, knight e7 check, and I do have a perpetual here of knight f5 check because king e8 would be answered by knight takes g7. So I'm just very lucky that I had this draw here. Let's see this one. He was playing with the white pieces against FIDE master Hans-Werner Ackermann. It's white to play. What would you do here? Stop the video right now. Alright, you see already the black piece kind of look like a mess, and I can make use of this by going rook d8. Threatening to take on e8 and pinning the bishop as well, so black cannot take on f5 or he would lose the rook on a8. So he took, but now my queens comes in with devastating effect, threatening checkmate here. So he doesn't have time to take the knight, and he played h6. And here actually the best way to continue would have been to go knight e7, threatening checkmate, knight c7, check, and queen g6. And I saw all of this, but then I didn't see how do I finish him off here. There must be a way, right? And there's a way. Get another piece into attack going rook e3, followed by rook g3, and that would be it. I found a different way, which is also good. Not as good, but it worked very well in the game. Knight takes h6, sacrificing and now getting the rook into a game, rook e3. And here he went astray. He needs to play knight g7, when after rook g3, queen g8, queen takes f6, rook bishop e6, queen takes e5. He's still holding on. I mean, I already have 3 pawns for the piece and still an attack going, but he's still holding on. Instead, he went queen d7, but now it's just over. Bishop e7, queen e6, now I can just take the knight on e8, regain my piece, plus continue an attack, threatening queen g6 now, f5 and queen f8, no way to defend against queen g7, and he resigned. Next exercise, what do you have here? This is the game against I am Lev Yankelevich again. So how did I win this? How do I finish him off here? Your turn. So queen c7 is a nice precise move. Attacking the pawn g3, and what can white do? If he goes f4, I go rook c3, take on g3 the next move. So he went king h1, but now I also go rook c3, and white cannot keep everything protected. If white keeps the queen on the rook, which he did, then I take on f3. And if he moves anywhere else, protecting still the f3 pawn, I take on g3, queen comes in, and it's all gone. So he played queen d2, queen d2, rook takes f3, and here he resigned. But I do have another exercise, or question for you rather. What would you do after rook g1? That's my question for you. Well, you got the answer correct if you didn't blunder any piece and didn't play rook takes g3. If you played, let's say, queen d7 or any move really that doesn't blunder anything, then you're good. But I wanted to go rook takes g3, and that would have been a huge mistake because, can you spot it? White takes, and what happens? It's stalemate. White can sacrifice the queen. And it is a stalemate. So I could have very realistically fallen for this. So what's the lesson to take from here? For me, personally, of course, stay focused, stay concentrated until the very end. And always look for resource of your opponent. And don't conclude the game too early in the mind. And for my opponent, of course, not giving up too early. And also still always looking for resources. So that was close. And last exercise, and also the toughest one, black to play here. This is my game against international master Kirill Shevchenko. And I also have analyzed this in a full game analysis, so you can check this out if you want. It was quite an interesting endgame. So what did I do here with the black pieces? Stop the video right now. Alright, I could move the rook back, and that would be completely fine for black, nothing to worry about. But knight takes g4 is possible, and I think quite strong. So many pieces hanging here, right? So first let's go through the take moves. So if white takes on c4, black takes on e3, forks the rooks, and is just in a great position. If white takes the knight, then I can take on e4 and attack the bishop on e3, and the knight is still attacked on b5, so I will definitely regain the piece, and I also have some extra pawns on the side. So this is winning for black. So the critical question is though, what happens if white moves the bishop back to g1? And that's what he did. Now, still my pieces are under attack. So I moved the rook back, but still you need to check this, you need to calculate this. Now the knight moves, and he played knight a7. I expect a knight takes c6 when in this position I have a little bit of something because my pawn structure is better and he has some weaknesses, but probably white should be able to hold. He played knight a7 attacking my rook. And this also, I mean, you would need to see this before playing knight takes g4, or at least have an idea what you're doing here. And knight takes h2 is possible. And now he took on c6. If white takes on h2, then I go rook c3. And I already have 2 pawns for the piece, and this knight is trapped. I mean, it's not easy for me to win it, but there's always this idea in the air. For example, if white was to go rook d3 here, I could take and then go bishop d4, bishop g1, takes, and now the knight is gone. So I think this is a very good position for black. Computer doesn't quite agree, but computer also doesn't realize maybe how bad this knight is on a7. I think my opponent realized so as well, and he went for knight takes c6, knight takes f1, knight takes e7 check, and knight takes g6. And just to finish this up real quick, how the complications ended in a way, ended right here when I was left with this position. Pawns are equal, but I do have a nice passed pawn here on h7, and well, if you want to find out how the game continued and ended, then I recommend you to check out the video analysis about this. You'll find it right below this video. Alright, that was my little tournament report of the Pfalz Open, my first Patron exclusive. So in the future they might look different, but I might as well do more of these reports and just share what's going on with me and my progress moving towards the top 100. Alright, see you again soon. Bye bye.